My pleasure now to welcome someone that I want to talk to for a few minutes, one of our lay persons, Ed Arnold, a very famous name and a famous face. Ed, God love you, and so do I. I love you. Wow, with young talent like this, what a future the church has.
Young.
That's right, Ed.
Thank you.
You're looking great. Now, Ed Arnold is known by everybody in Southern California, face and name, because for, I guess, 10 years you've been with the American Broadcasting Company's Los Angeles television studio, right?
Yes, I have.
How long have you been with us?
Golly, 1961. As a matter of fact, the Christmas season is very special to me because it was after the candlelight services in 1961 that my wife and I went over and had a little chat, and I asked her to marry me, and she agreed to.
Is that why people come to these Christmas Eve candlelight services?
It's worked for a number of people.
So, that's 61. That means, almost a quarter of a century.
Has it been that long?
Well, I was never that good at arithmetic.
Well,
figure it out.
You still look terrific.
Thank you.
You haven't changed much.
So 25 years, let's say, in this church. How long have you been married?
Well, if 25 years in this church, it's very close to, because just a matter of weeks later that you counsel my wife and I and then perform the ceremony for us.
So you're married 25 years, you've got a son.
Dean's 22, goes to college.
And you've been the television announcer on Hour of Power, I guess, since the beginning?
Well, what actually happened is on about the second or third service that we had, I was just doing the announcing on the first couple, where I would just a basic little intro. And then I was asked if I would give a testimony, and I was happy to do so, because this church had been so special to me.
I want people to know this. He's a volunteer, and even though he's a very, very top professional in his field, and his name and face is so famous, he has volunteered all of his professional services to the Hour of Power television ministry for our 15 years.
Well, see, I think thank you. But I think more than anything, I'm lucky to have the opportunity. I think it's very special when the good Lord has been so generous to me through the years. And then when I guess you would say I was like a sheep that had gotten outside my herd. When I was brought to this church, I was led here, and it was my wife that led me here. And it was funny because I had tried a number of different churches I had visited, and for some reason I got tired of people telling me how bad I was, and it seemed that I was constantly being condemned. At least I didn't go away with a good feeling. I went away empty. And when I came in here, I went away like I could conquer the world. And I think that has happened because like a lot of people, you suffer a number of rejections. There was a time in the early stages, in the early 60s, that I could not get the kind of job I wanted. I'd been a broadcaster in Texarkana, Arkansas when I was 14 years old. But yet I could not get that opportunity. But I never gave up. And I think it was because there was a certain minister that used to stand in the pulpit sitting here and telling us how that we must believe in ourselves and what we can do.
Really?
And that's been very special to me through the years. And I look at the opportunities I've had to serve the church on the consistory as a deacon and an elder. It was, to me, a very rare opportunity, and that's why I'm thrilled to be a part of the Hour of Power.
May I say this? I happen to know that not only do you volunteer your services, which means you tithe your time to this work, but you also believe in tithing your income.
The church is special in a lot of ways, and I think we've had people that have given testimony here and talked about the importance of giving. And I think everyone should take that into consideration because you get so much more back. I think that the opportunities here are so many that you just give of yourself and you're going to get the reward so many more times over. And there's just so much here. There's so much to offer. And I think anything we can do in the way of time and money in dealing with our church, it's very special. And for people that watch the Hour of Power, if they don't have their own church, they can go out and discover the church and be led to the church, which you have tried to do so many times through the years. You tell them that we need your support for the Hour of Power, and we want you to offer your tithes and offerings to the Hour of Power. But we also want you to get involved in the church in your area.
Say, Bert Blyleven, another member of this church about your age and of one of America's great and famous baseball pitchers, and you knew Bert when he was a little kid in this church, didn't you?
Well, I'm a wee bit older than Bert is, but when Bert was still in high school, he was my paper boy. And it used to impress me the way this young man was, and frankly, it spoiled me because I've never had a paper boy like him ever again. But I lived in this apartment complex, and Bert would spend time with my young son, who was just an infant at the time. And he would always take the time, and he was always so marvelous in what he did. And he's such an alive young man. And today, I look at Bert Blyleven, and he hasn't changed that much. Oh, sure, he became a very big star in Major League Baseball, but he is still a very humble young man. And I think perhaps, and I like to think of it that way, that maybe our church kind of helped him that way. The fact he had a very church-loving family. And there's so many great. In sports, we have Dr. Julius Erving, the great Philadelphia 76er. He is constantly thanking Jesus Christ for what he's been able to accomplish. And we have so many others. Eric Dickerson, a young man that I think is going to be remembered as one of the greatest backs in the history of pro football. Just a couple of days ago, I had an opportunity to watch an interview that he and the great O.J. Simpson did together. And both of them made it a point that they thank Jesus Christ. They thank their Lord for the God-given talents that they had. And this happens so many times in sports. I could list you Tommy John. I could talk about so many athletes, and that's kind of special to me. And I find that in many times, I'll be talking to an athlete in an interview, and he'll look and he'll say, "Oh, it's you again." And I'll think, well, what's happened? And he said, "Well, I was in Montreal about a week ago, and just before I went to the ballpark, I had on the television, and there you were." And they'll look at me kind of funny and nod their head. They say they just can't get away from me. And then I kind of laugh, and I said, well, thank the good Lord you can't get away from your church and from the hour of power. And that's what's so very special.
That's nice. Ed Arnold, you know, why have you stayed with it through all these years, and why are you so loyal and so devoted and enthused today?
This church means a lot to me, and I've seen what it's happened through the years and through the growth. And I've seen you. I've not seen you change. I've seen your family grow. And if anything, I've seen us all kind of age together. I see Sheila. I had an opportunity to see her a few minutes ago, and remembering the young, gorgeous little girl, and now I look at her, the beautiful woman with your grandchildren. And I have the chance to see Jeannie and Carol and Gretchen and Robert. And it's very special to me. And Arvella, people don't realize, and I'll say it, he has said it before, that one of the strengths behind this wonderful man is that beautiful woman. Arvella Schuller is one of the most special women and human beings that I've ever known. You notice I corrected it real quick instead of just saying one of the most special women, one of the most special human beings. And what you have done for me, the inspiration that I have had from you, and I have seen you face obstacles and not back away, but just go right in and attack them. And it just goes on to show me the kind of person you are. And folks, I don't have to say this because anyone that knows me knows that I speak my piece. And if I did not think that this man in this church was so special, many years ago, I would have been gone, because I do work as a newsman and a sportscaster for an ABC television station. And I assure you that they would not want me to affiliate or associate with something that was not what they felt, totally above board, and I have to say that something very special. And they have never objected at all to my affiliation and public association with my church.
Ed, that's wonderful. Praise be to Jesus our Lord. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you and
Dixie and Dean. That's wonderful. Thank you.